7 bizarre body changes you never knew happen after a spiritual awakening. It began with a flicker in the air, a thrum of energy too peculiar to ignore. 8 months ago, Mia had experienced the unthinkable, her ordinary life twisted into a bizarre tapestry of strange sensations and inexplicable phenomena. Some said it was a spiritual awakening, others mere madness. But those close to her could see it in her eyes, a spark that danced between sanity and something far more surreal. She started seeing colors that didn't exist, vivid hues intertwining with her thoughts. Every sound seemed to rip through her, echoing with unsettling clarity. Tension tightened around her heart like a vice, leaving her gasping for comfort. Then, the peculiarities escalated. One night, as she lay in bed, a pulse of warmth coursed through her veins. Her fingers tingled with an electric jolt, as if every nerve was vibrating with life. Sleep? It was a distant memory. She could hear the whispers of the trees outside her window, could almost feel their roots entwined with hers. Felt beautiful yet terrifying. People said she was breathing new life, but was it truly her own? Days passed in a haze of unpredictability. Mia's reflection began to shift. It was subtle at first, a flicker of light in her eyes that caught others off guard. Friends whispered, "Are you okay?" They meant well, but confusion swirled in their expressions. How could they understand? Just last week, she placed her hand on a stranger's shoulder at a cafe and felt a rush of memories that weren't her own, each one more heartbreaking than the last. The flood of emotions left her breathless and shaken. But wait. Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Mia's world unraveled further when her dreams turned into confounding experiences. Caught in a whirlwind, she found herself standing on the edge of a cliff in her slumber, staring into a churning ocean that mirrored her tangled thoughts. The salt-laden breeze clawed at her skin. This wasn't just imagination. It felt painfully real. In each dream, she battled unseen foes, shadows molding into figures that clawed at her sanity. And yet, there were moments of clarity, flashes of warmth like sunlight breaking through the storm. What could it all mean? It was on a quiet Tuesday when Mia caught the scent of burning sage, the unmistakable trace of ancient rituals wafting through her apartment. She turned, half expecting to see an intruder, yet she was utterly alone. The sensation enveloped her, nudging at the frayed edges of her consciousness. What would she discover next in this wild ride of awakening? The suspense crackled in the air, an electric promise of events yet to unfold. Mia leaned against the cold wall of her apartment, her heart thudding like a drum in her chest. The lingering scent of sage danced around her, both comforting and alarming. She took a deep breath, trying to quell the growing panic. What was this new phenomenon? The shadows in her room seemed to pulse, shifting as if alive. Were they watching her? Just then, her phone buzzed on the table, breaking the tension. A text from her friend Brian appeared. "You okay? You've been acting different." She stared at the screen, every word feeling like a lifeline thrown to her in turbulent waters. Did he sense something? Was she really that far gone? Before she could respond, another wave of warmth swept through her, stronger this time. It surged deep inside, filling her with an urgency that propelled her toward the door. Something out there was calling her. The world had shifted. It felt like a ripple of energy that begged for her attention. She stepped outside, half expecting a scene of doom, but the street remained still, suffused with twilight. The sunset painted the sky in dramatic strokes of orange and purple, but Mia only saw the chaos churning within. Her mind crackled with sounds, chatter of passers-by shattered into disjointed phrases, each word striking like an arrow. "You need help. Don't lose it." She is not herself, ignoring the whispers. She walked on, each step feeling heavier. But then, through the fog of sensory overload, she noticed something strange. A figure stood under the flickering streetlight, cloaked in shadows. There was an allure about the figure, as if they emitted an otherworldly aura. Mia's heart raced. Who were they? Come here. The figure beckoned, their voice smooth and calming, yet dripping with mystery. It wrapped around her like a familiar song. Against her better judgment, she approached. As she drew closer, the air shimmered around them, bending reality itself. Mia, the figure said, lifting their head, revealing striking eyes that seemed almost too bright. You're awakening further than you realize. You weren't meant to walk this path alone. Who are you? Mia whispered, the unease creeping back. I am a guide, a friend, they answered cryptically. You've sensed the changes within, felt the pull of something undeniable. Embrace it. You will learn to harness these gifts before it's too late. Before Mia could voice her fears, the world swirled, colors exploding around her as she was enveloped by a whirlwind of emotion and energy. She squeezed her eyes shut, feeling her body being tugged in countless directions, strength and vulnerability, warmth and ice. Then, suddenly, silence. Mia opened her eyes to find herself alone. The figure was gone, the street once again peaceful. But that silence echoed in her ears, a resounding question that buzzed with urgency. What did the guide mean by before it's too late? With each moment passing, she felt a shadow of dread creeping back. Would she truly be able to harness these changes? Could she face the truth awaiting her? Just then, another wave of warmth surged through her, stronger than before. It whispered secrets of the unknown, coaxing her to explore the depths of her transformation. She had to know more about herself and what awaited her on this uncertain path. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Mia felt an electric surge of courage. The night was just beginning, and so was her journey. Little did she know, the whispers would soon become far more sinister, pulling her deeper into a world she had only begun to understand what awaited her on this darker path. Mia stood frozen, the silence enveloping her like a heavy fog. The warm rush that had propelled her out of her apartment now simmered at the edges of her consciousness, feeding a growing compulsion to uncover the truth. What was happening to her? Her skin tingled where the shadows had touched her. Now nothing but memories of an elusive figure. Had she imagined it all? She turned sharply, nearly colliding with a couple passing by, their laughter jarring against her nerves. The fragments of their banter felt surreal. Did you see that? And I can't believe he actually did that, pierced through the buzzing in her ears. They walked on, oblivious to the storm swirling inside her, and she envied their normalcy. But normal was slipping away. A subtle shift had transformed her reality, and fear clawed at her gut. She had to find answers. Mia quickened her pace, moving almost instinctively toward the park where she and Brian often met. It was a place that felt familiar, a haven tucked away from the chaos of the city. As she neared the park, the trees loomed like ancient sentinels, their branches whispering secrets in the rustling leaves. Shadows pooled in the corners, deep and foreboding, but Mia pressed on. A part of her wondered if the guide would reappear, promising clarity where only confusion lingered. Then, she sensed it, a sharp chill slicing through the warm night air. It sent shivers down her spine, intensifying the buzz inside her. Suddenly, a sharp cry, the sound of someone in distress, erupted from the depths of the park. Panic surged through Mia, the primal urge to help sparked instinctively. "Help!" the voice cried again, raw and desperate. Mia rushed towards the sound, her heart racing. The path twisted ahead, shadows playing tricks on her eyes, and as she rounded a thick oak, she stumbled into a clearing. There, illuminated by the soft glow of a solitary lantern, stood a young woman, her hands shaking as she gripped a wooden stake, the sight of it sending an icy wave of unease crashing over Mia. "Stay back," the woman shouted. "I swear, I'll use it." "What's happening? Who are you?" Mia asked, bewildered and terrified. "No time," the woman said, glancing furtively over her shoulder, eyes wide with fear. You don't understand. It's coming. Mia felt the air around her shift, thickening with intensity. Pulses of energy raced up her arms, heating her skin, and she couldn't help but recoil slightly, instinctively shielding herself. A growl echoed from the shadows beyond the clearing, a low rumble that set her teeth on edge. What is it? Mia demanded, but the words felt heavy in her throat. It knows you, the woman rasped, panic etching lines on her face. The shadow, it's drawn to you. You need to get out of here. Before Mia could respond, the growl intensified, and out of the darkness emerged a creature, sleek and menacing, eyes glinting like wicked stars. It moved with predatory grace, a being that seemed partly formed from the very shadows that surrounded them. Mia's heart pounded in her chest, yearning for clarity and strength. The warmth inside her surged again, igniting a pulse of courage. But could she wield such power against this creature? Could she truly embrace what had begun to awaken within her? The woman's voice trembled, breaking through Mia's racing thoughts. You must choose. Fight or flee. You can't let it take you. In that moment, everything seemed to break apart: her fears, the uncertainty, her very identity. A decision hung before her like a cliff's edge. Just then, the creature lunged, a shadow of instinct that dared her to confront the unknown. But could she summon the strength to embrace her awakening fully? The night seemed to hold its breath, waiting for her response. Mia's breath caught in her throat as the creature surged forward. The air crackled with tension, a heavy, pulsing energy that sent her instincts into overdrive. The path of escape flickered in her mind, but the woman's warning rang loud. Fighting was her only choice. Get behind me, Mia shouted, her voice stronger than she felt. The young woman hesitated, glancing back at the approaching shadow. Are you insane? She gasped. But the creature was upon them, moving faster than Mia could comprehend. In that instant, something inside Mia ignited a flicker of the warmth that had been building since the first moment she felt the shadows. She raised her hands instinctively, channeling that energy from her core. Light began to shimmer around her, an ethereal glow that stretched outwards, illuminating the clearing. The creature paused mid-lunge, eyes narrowing as it recoiled from Mia's light. Its growl turned into a low hiss, and in that brief moment of reprieve, Mia glanced at the woman. You have to believe me. We can fight it together. The woman's expression shifted from terror to determination. She backed away from Mia, unwilling to remain a passive bystander. All right, I'll take the left. The creature lunged again, this time targeting the young woman. Without thinking, Mia flung her hand forward, a surge of shimmering light shooting from her palm. It connected with the creature, and it howled, stumbling back as if struck by lightning. Keep it off balance, Mia yelled, feeling the energy flowing through her veins, a heady rush that sent tingles through her limbs. The woman raised her stake, her eyes fierce now. I can do that. She dashed at the creature, darting around it, using the glow from Mia's light to stay one step ahead. The darkness around the creature seemed to pulse and writhe, almost sentient, whispering curses. Mia's heart raced as she focused on the light spilling from her, willing it to grow brighter, stronger. But with each burst of illumination, she could feel her strength waning. It felt as if the shadows were leeching her power, drawing on her fear and fatigue. I can't hold it much longer, she gasped, sweat beading on her forehead. Just a little longer. The woman weaved through the creature's strikes, her eyes darting as she measured her next move. Then, the creature turned, its luminous eyes pinning Mia in place. It lunged, the shadows opening like a mouth ready to swallow her whole. No, she screamed, with everything she had left. All at once, something deep inside her snapped. A wave of energy exploded from her, washing over the clearing like a tidal wave. The light wrapped around the creature, binding it in shimmering tendrils, brightening the dark woods. Mia felt a rush of clarity as the shadows hissed and writhed against the radiant force. But then, a strange sensation washed over her, a mingling of fear and exhilaration. From the corner of her eye, she noticed the woman falter. What's happening? she shouted, her voice trembling. Mia could hardly respond. The shadows, sensing the shift, began to retreat, pulling the creature back into the depths of darkness. But something about that felt wrong. The glow flickered, and with it so did her resolve. Fear clawed back in, gnawing at her thoughts. Had they truly banished the shadow, or merely pushed it away? When the blinding light faded, both Mia and the woman were left breathing heavily, soaked in sweat and confusion. "What do we do now?" the woman asked, her voice laced with uncertainty. Mia turned to her, the weight of their shared ordeal pressing down distinctly. "We need to figure out what this really means. Why did it want me?" And deeper within her heart, another question simmered just beneath the surface. What else had awakened inside her? The shadows in the park seemed to twitch restlessly, gathering in the corners of her vision, as whispers echoed through the leaves. The night still held secrets, hovering just out of reach, daring her to uncover them. Because whatever she had become, one thing was certain: the fight was far from over. What would she discover next, and at what cost? Mia clenched her fists, feeling the familiar warmth flicker weakly beneath her skin. It was a strange sensation, one she had never encountered before, but a part of her knew it was tied to the shadows and the creature they had just faced. The darkness had not only been a threat, it was also a catalyst. Cold sweat trickled down her spine as the oppressive weight of what had happened hung heavy in the air. "Did you feel that?" the woman asked, her voice still shaky. She brushed a few stray hairs from her face, her eyes darting around them. "Like something shifted?" Mia nodded, unease churning in her stomach. She could sense it too, a tremor of energy pulsating around them, thrumming in tandem with her own. It was as if the very fabric of their reality was stretching, ready to snap back. "Why did it target me?" Mia whispered, her own words echoing back like an unanswered prayer. "What am I supposed to do with this?" A sudden rustling in the trees sent a jolt through her. The shadows stretched and contorted around them, coiling like serpents, hungry and waiting. An eerie howl broke the stillness, and the woman stepped closer to Mia, instinctively finding comfort in their shared fear. "What if it comes back?" she asked, her eyes wide with desperation. "It will," Mia replied, and for a fleeting moment, the certainty of her statement felt comforting. "But we can prepare." As they exchanged determined glances, a low whisper tugged at the edge of Mia's mind. It was faint at first, but then a voice surged through her, echoing from the shadows themselves. "Embrace the darkness. Child, it is a part of you now." Mia staggered back, a chill coursing through her veins. "Did you hear that?" she stammered, panic seeping into her voice. The woman shook her head, confusion clouding her features. "I didn't hear anything." Mia's hands trembled. "It's like something is alive in me, controlling, guiding, I don't know." She felt the energy curling within her like smoke, seductive and powerful, beckoning her to yield. "Stop it. We can't give in," the woman urged, desperation carving her features. But as Mia stood there, the pulsing energy began to morph. What had felt like a gift now teetered on the brink of madness. "Do not resist. You have power. Embrace it. Use it to protect." The voice coiled around her thoughts, soothing yet sinister. The shadows shifted once more, and Mia felt their grip tightening, as if trying to incorporate her into their fold. The darkness promised strength, certainty, a path she had never known before. Gritting her teeth, she fought against it, feeling the alien energy within her churn and swell uncontrollably. "Stay with me," Mia shouted, locking eyes with the woman, desperate for her friendship, for her human touch to ground her in this chaos. Wind whipped through the trees, a wild howl mimicking a wailing mourn, thick with despair. "We need to go," the woman screamed, glancing toward the path leading back to the park entrance. "Now." "No, I have to face this," Mia replied, her voice strong, yet drenched in fear. What if embracing her power was the only way to uncover the truth? Then, a sudden plunge of black slipped around them, and Mia choked on her breath. The darkness swirled, morphing into shapes she couldn't recognize, forms of her nightmares creeping out from the corners of her consciousness. She clutched her head, trying to drown out the voices pressing in, but they grew louder, echoing. "You are more than you know. Help me." The woman advanced, grabbing Mia's arms, desperation writ large on her face. "Don't fall into this. We have to stick together." Mia's heart pounded violently. The weight of the shadows bore down on her, almost suffocating. "Together," Mia gasped, but even as she said it, she felt the darkness urging her to take a step into the abyss. What was waiting on the other side? As they stood teetering on the brink of the unknown, the ground trembled underneath their feet, and the shadows hissed, sealing their fate. The deeper question gnawed at Mia. Could she harness her new identity and banish the darkness for good, or would she become one with it? Whatever happens next, Mia whispered, her heart racing. She looked deep into the woman's eyes, clutching that flicker of warmth tightly. "We need to face it together." But deep down, even as she stood defiantly against the encroaching darkness, another thought brewed, haunting her. What if the true battle had just begun? The shadows surged with renewed urgency, and Mia felt their clawing tendrils brush against her skin like icy fingers. Her breath quickened as she faced the swirling darkness and the vice-like grip it had on both her and the woman beside her. The flicker of warmth in her chest was a beacon, but it felt increasingly fragile amidst the choking gloom. "Mia," the woman's voice snapped her back into focus. "We have to move. I can't just run away." Mia hissed, the whirlwind of energy within her spiking dangerously. It was as if she was standing at the edge of a precipice, looking down into an abyss that promised either despair or unimaginable power. Each heartbeat echoed in her ears, louder than the howling wind, amplifying her dread. "Please, think." The woman grasped Mia's shoulders, grounding her with a fierce intensity. "We need to strategize. You can't fight this alone." But could she fight it at all? The voice thrumming inside her grew louder, tempting her with promises of strength, of control. In that fleeting moment, Mia felt the shadows recoil, sensing her turmoil. "I don't know how to control it." Panic surged through her veins, flooding her with warmth that turned suddenly cold. "It feels like it wants to swallow me whole." "Then we'll find a way. Together." The woman's eyes gleamed with resolve. But the flicker of hope was dimming, smothered under the weight of encroaching darkness. With a roar that seemed to shake the last remnants of calm from the night, the shadows began to churn violently. Twisting and swirling, they released shapes resembling twisted faces of unspeakable agony, reflecting Mia's worst fears. Each distorted likeness triggered a pulse of terror within her. "Fight it, Mia!" the woman shouted, her voice almost lost in the tempest. "Remember who you are." Mia squeezed her eyes shut, grappling with the tension tightening around her. Memories flashed before her, fragments of her life, the laughter, the friendships, even the pain of loss. She was more than this darkness, more than the shadows crowding her mind. "We'll face it together." The words pounded in her chest, igniting an ember of defiance. In that instant, Mia opened her eyes, locking onto the woman's determined gaze. The shadows halted, their movement pausing like breath held in the deepest of fears. "Now," Mia breathed, focusing on the warmth growing stronger. It was a blazing fire fighting back the cold clutching at her heart. "Hold on tight." In a sweeping motion, she reached out her hand, summoning the energy within her. The shadows screamed, writhing in rebellion as a surge of light erupted from Mia, illuminating the darkness surrounding them. The sensations intertwined, a flicker of power mixed with the gravity of the shadow's despair. But just as she began to comprehend their hold, a chilling laughter echoed through the darkness, a voice steeped in malice. "You think light can banish me? You are merely a vessel, child. The darkness has only just begun to awaken." Mia's pulse quickened as her heart raced. Piece by piece the shadows twisted, taking form around her, grappling for dominance. She felt the woman tighten her grip on her arm, yet the tendrils of darkness curled around them, infiltrating her spirit with an ancient curse. "Stay close," Mia shouted over the rising chaos. But as they spun together in the heart of the storm, she felt the light flickering weakly within her, the shadows circling, relentless and unstoppable. Could I truly contain this power? She wondered, fear gnawing at her courage. The woman's face twisted with dread as shadows began to separate them, an unseen force pulling them apart. No, we're connected, Mia cried, their bond battling the chaos. But the chilling laughter rose anew, mocking her struggle. Just then, the ground beneath them cracked open, revealing a darkness deeper than any Mia had encountered before. What nightmares lay hidden below, waiting to be unleashed? As the fissure widened, Mia realized they were at a crossroads. The choice stood before her, agonizing and raw, to plunge deeper into the darkness or cling tightly to the light that threatened to slip away. With every fiber of her being, Mia knew the true battle had shifted from within to a desperate struggle against the oncoming tide of unrelenting darkness. In that moment of clarity, she felt a whisper pressing against the very edges of her soul, urging her forward into the unknown. What secrets were anchored in the dark below? The ground trembled beneath them, roaring like a beast roused from sleep. The split in the earth yawned wider, revealing a void that radiated pure malevolence. Mia felt it tugging at her, a magnetic pull that made her stomach lurch. She grasped the woman's hand tighter, as if their connection could anchor her against the encroaching dread. Mia, the woman shouted, her voice strained. We can't stay here. It's trying to split us apart. Panic surged anew, and Mia squeezed her eyes shut again, channeling all her energy to keep the light alive within her. Memories flooded back her childhood. Sunny afternoons, laughter shared with friends. Each recollection sparked warmth inside her, pushing back against the vile chill creeping in from below. But that laughter felt so far away now, a distant echo. Focus on your strength, Mia. The woman's command sliced through the chaos, yanking Mia back from the brink of despair. Think of what you've overcome. But all Mia could hear was the laughter now, deeper and darker, reverberating through her very bones. It reached into the depths of her, curling like fingers around her heart, squeezing tight. You think you can resist me? It hissed. What are you but a flicker compared to true darkness? Mia fought to breathe, but the air was thickening, closing in on her. No, I am more than that, she yelled, voice trembling but resolute. Suddenly, the ground beneath them erupted with shadowy tendrils reaching hungrily. Mia, we need to jump, the woman yelled over the clamor, determination blazing in her eyes. Jump? Where? But there was no time to ponder. The shadows roared in protest as they began to envelop Mia's legs, dragging her toward the gaping maw of darkness. She felt the woman tug her forward, a desperate pull against the despair almost overwhelming them. With a burst of adrenaline, Mia's instincts kicked in. Together, she shouted again and, with one last surge of energy, she summoned that flickering light deep inside her. It shone like a beacon through the night, piercing through the shadows. She didn't just want to survive. She wanted to push back. The moment her light met the grasping tendrils, they shrieked, recoiling with a ferocity that shook the very ground. For a heartbeat, it seemed the darkness might retreat. But then it surged back, angrier, denser, as if it had been wounded but refused to die. Mia, the woman gasped, shielding her face as the light flickered, struggling to hold its ground. Just a little more. Mia's voice was strained, her energy waning, but she felt the woman's hands steady against her own. We can do this. As they concentrated together, a brilliant surge of warmth radiated from the core of Mia, expanding outward and forcing the shadows to retreat, if only temporarily. The laughter faltered, replaced by growls of frustration. But Mia knew this was just the beginning. We're not done yet, she yelled, adrenaline fueling her determination. Then, without warning, the ground underfoot cracked again, and a surge of energy erupted from the fissure. The darkness billowed around them like a storm, dousing the flicker of light with sea of ink. Mia, the woman cried, her voice strained with urgency. Just then, Mia felt something shift within her, a deeper connection firing to life as a new voice joined the cacophony, clearer than the others. Face your fears, embrace your true power, it whispered. felt familiar and terrifying all the same. "What are you?" Mia whispered back, shaking but strong. The darkness writhed, sensing the challenge. The woman's face was etched in resolve. "Trust it, Mia." Mia's heart raced. Could she trust the voice? Deep down, she knew she had to try, to reach into the depths of herself, to draw forth something powerful, something more than she had ever imagined. And with those words clinging to her mind, she felt herself being pulled downwards into the shadows, not away from the light, but toward the heart of the darkness. What awaited her there? Would she find a strength to defeat it or fall victim to it? The whisper grew stronger, urging her toward the perilous edge. Mia stood on the precipice, heart pounding, as the dark abyss called to her. Could she truly embrace what that darkness offered? And how much of herself would she have to give up to gain such power? With a decisive breath, she prepared to leap into the unknown. What awaited her in that unyielding darkness? Would it forge her into something unstoppable, or would it consume her entirely? The answer lay just beyond the edge. Mia felt herself teeter on the brink, her heart racing wildly as she grasped the ultimatum swirling around her. The darkness called to her, seductive and horrifying, but at that moment, she was both terrified and exhilarated. "Do it!" the woman shouted, her voice echoing with desperation. "You have to trust yourself." With one final glance back at the woman, a flicker of resolve bloomed in Mia's chest. This was not just a battle against the shadows but a confrontation with her own fears. She took a deep breath, steeling herself. With a fierce cry, she leaped into the yawning dark. The sensation was like diving into icy waters, the cold shock wrapping around her as shadows enveloped her body. Yet, instead of despair, she found that the darkness was alive, pulsing with energy. It swirled around her like a tempest, its whispers curling through her mind. "Embrace me, Mia. Let me show you what you are truly capable of." And there it was again, the familiar voice that had resonated in her soul, pulling at the deepest parts of her. "If I let you in," she asked into the void, "what will it cost me?" "Everything," it promised, the voice smooth as silk. But nestled within that promise was a spark, a sense of power that stirred her curiosity. She could feel her strength soaring, her spirit igniting in response to the dark, and she was filled with the realization that she wasn't just a victim here. Suddenly, her surroundings shifted. The shadows began to pulse, revealing fleeting images, flickers of her past, moments of pain and joy intertwined. She saw her friends, their faces illuminated with laughter, but also the look of betrayal in the eyes of those who hurt her. Each memory surged through her, visceral and raw, filling the chasm in her heart with warmth. "Face your past," the voice urged, and for the first time Mia felt no fear. She called out to the shadows, "I will not hide anymore." The darkness writhed, and the shadows thickened, but Mia stood strong, resonating with resolve. She raised her arms, feeling the spark within her grow into a roaring flame. "I am not afraid." Light burst forth from her core like sunlight piercing through a storm. It illuminated the darkness around her, causing the shadows to shrink back, howling in rage. Mia felt drunk on the energy. "This is your power," the voice whispered. "Use it." With every ounce of strength, she channeled the force inside her. The light flared wildly, shooting forth in all directions. The dark shadows began to dissolve under its intensity, revealing the stark outlines of forgotten memories drowning in bitterness and regret. But right when Mia thought she could conquer the darkness, something changed. A shadow surged back, larger and darker than before, overloading her senses. The laughter transformed into anguished screams, drowning out her victorious cries. "No, this isn't over." It thundered, the ground quaking beneath her once more. "Mia," the woman's voice broke through the chaos. "Fight it. You can't let it take you." Her energy flickered like a dying candle. For a desperate moment, Mia feared it was too late, but the warmth of the woman's presence rekindled her determination. Together, she shouted, willing herself to push against the encroaching shadows. They were still intertwined, their connection serving as an anchor in the storm as darkness and light clashed with a thunderous roar. Mia saw the potential of both energies mingling. If she could harness them together, could she wield them against the malevolence rising? Focus, Mia, the woman called out, her eyes fierce and unwavering. But just then, a new voice emerged from the shadows, a guttural whisper that chilled her bones. You cannot contain me, Mia. You will serve the darkness or be consumed by it. Mia's heart raced. The shadows were raging, and she felt herself faltering, the light beginning to wane. The echoes of the past rang louder, threatening to overwhelm her resolve. What would she choose? The power seducing her from the dark depths, or the flickering light of hope that had cradled her through her darkest times? The choice loomed like the abyss itself, a final test that could mean not just her survival but the fate of everything she cared about. And as the shadows shrieked around her, Mia steeled herself for a battle she had never imagined, knowing that the true answer lay buried within her. Would she be brave enough to reclaim her power? Or would the darkness swallow her whole? Mia's breath quickened with every pulse of darkness that swirled around her, suffocating and oppressive. The weight of the shadows bore down on her, trying to drag her into an abyss filled with despair. But she couldn't falter, not now, not when all that she loved hung in the balance. The woman's voice echoed, a beacon against the chaos, urging her onward. Feel the light, Mia. The woman's south presence felt close, a warm embrace in this cold void. You are stronger than this. Gripping that warmth like a lifeline, Mia squared her shoulders. The darkness pressed, but she pushed back with every ounce of willpower she could muster. I will not be afraid, she shouted, determination igniting within her like gasoline on fire. Suddenly, the shadows shrieked, a cacophony of fury and anguish. They dove toward her, separating into tendrils that reached for her heart. It felt like wisps of ice dragging along her skin, freezing her resolve. She felt them clawing at her past, the doubts and fears replaying in a haunting loop. But she forced her mind to focus on the woman's strength. Remember who you are, the woman shouted, her voice cutting through the noise. Mia pulled from the depths of her being, from the laughter of old friends to the embrace of family. Images of moments shared, love poured into her heart like a tidal wave. She shouted against the screaming shadows, "You are nothing compared to my light." At that moment, something shifted deep within. The faint glow around her heart flickered to life, and she envisioned it expanding, brightening, radiating outwards. It brushed against the darkness, igniting sparks of resistance. As she harnessed this new light, shadows recoiled, shrieking in agony. Together, Mia, we can do this. The woman's voice blended with her own newfound force, creating a harmony that resonated throughout the churning void. With a deep exhale, Mia focused, allowing the shadows to merge with the light. It felt like a dance, a wild balance of two forces moving in tandem. The power within her surged, wild and uncontainable. I am both light and dark, she gasped, realizing the depth of her strength. And I choose light. She thrust her hands forward. The light erupted, a blinding burst annihilating the dark around her. Tendrils of shadows twisted and screamed, evaporating into nothingness as the brilliance expanded. But something deeper lurked in the blackened fringes, a new terror, a presence growing stronger in the chaos. The ground shook as an echo rattled through the air. You think you can control this? You are merely beginning to understand. Mia's heart plummeted. The familiar voice, cloaked in menace, dripped with mockery. Shadows seeped back, thicker now, swirling with renewed fury. Panic gripped her. What do you want from me? She cried out, desperate and defiant. Yet answers merely hung in the space between them, elusive and cold. You cannot escape your true nature, Mia, it taunted. The shadows twisted, forming a monstrous shape. Something between a nightmare and a revelation loomed, waiting to be unveiled. Just then, a glimmer of recognition flashed in Mia's chest, the spark of an ancient truth. You are not my master, she shouted, ready to stand her ground. Yet doubt crept in like the shadows, clawing at her confidence. If she was right, then confronting this darkness meant surrendering to a truth she had long avoided. The woman's voice rang clear amidst the turmoil. "Fight, Mia. You have the power to change everything." But could she? As the monstrous shape lunged for her with ethereal teeth bared, Mia steeled her nerves. A choice lay ahead, one that could change the course of her journey. Would she embrace this darkness and transform it, or would it consume her? And as she stood on the edge of that unknown precipice, the question loomed heavy. What awaited her in the shadows? Would she confront the terror and unravel the mystery of her own existence? Mia's heart raced, pounding like a drum as the monstrous shadow lunged toward her, its chilling breath washing over her. Time felt suspended in that moment, the air heavy with anticipation, the oppressive darkness swirling around her like a storm. But deep within, that flickering warmth hadn't been extinguished. It pulsed steadily, urging her to confront what had haunted her for so long. "Not today," she shouted, a fierce determination rising within her. She surged forward, pulling the light from deep within, the glow intensifying as she focused on everything she held dear: the love of her friends, the laughter echoing in her memory, the sacrifices made for her own sake. Each thought ignited a flare of energy that pushed back against the ravenous darkness. The shadow paused, sensing her resurgence. Mia felt the presence shift, figured the dark had never anticipated her resistance. "You draw power from fear," she spoke, her voice steady despite the chaos. "But I will not let you control me any longer." With a fierce flick of her wrists, the light exploded forth, vibrant and overwhelming. The shadow's monstrous form shrieked an anguished sound that sent vibrations through the very ground beneath her feet. But Mia pressed on, letting the energy flow through her. "I am not afraid," she declared, channeling everything: the warmth, the light, the mutual strength she felt with the woman beside her. The shadows screeched again, thrashing against her wave of brilliance. "Do you think this is the end?" The monstrous voice boomed, but Mia's heart swelled with newfound confidence. This was not the end. This was a beginning. "I choose my path." Without hesitation, Mia turned and reached for the thread of darkness, willing it to intertwine with her light. All of it, together. The darkness recoiled, snapping at her in panic, but she felt it differently now. The shadows were no longer enemies but parts of her, echoes of her past. Her fears transformed into power. She wove the threads of fear with strength, and the air fizzed with energy as light and shadows danced around her. The woman gripped her hand tighter, supporting Mia's resolve. "You can do it," she shouted, her voice unwavering. "Embrace what you are." And in that moment Mia finally understood. The embrace of fear had always been there, but it didn't define her. It melded with the light inside her, creating a force that was both beautiful and terrifying. She felt whole, completely aligned. The darkness howled once more, but this time it faltered. "What are you?" it cried, confusion rippling through its form. "I am both light and dark," Mia shouted back, her voice soaring over the menacing laughter. "I will not be broken." With a final surge of courage, she drew everything together: memories, emotions, and strength, and released an incandescent beam of radiant energy towards the shadow. The light pierced through, illuminating the clearing in a brilliant expanse, sweeping away the fog of despair that had lingered too long. With a blinding flash, the darkness writhed and twisted, unable to withstand the pure force of Mia's conviction. It shattered, exploding into a million flecks of shadow like dying stars, and echoed back in a deafening roar, the remnants consumed by the very light they sought to dismantle. As calm settled into the night, Mia and the woman stood amidst the fading glow, panting and shaken, but victorious. "Did we do it?" the woman whispered, disbelief etched in her features. Mia nodded, tears streaming down her face, a mix of relief and exhaustion making her limbs tremble. "We did," she breathed. "I knew I could embrace it all, but I just needed to believe." They stood in the silence, feeling the stillness settle, sunlight peeking through the darkness that had once seemed insurmountable. The path forward stretched ahead, wide and clear. The whispers that once haunted her faded into soft murmurs. Life would never be the same. The shadows would always be there, part of her story. But now they were allies, not threats. The warmth inside her pulsed gently, a comforting reminder that she controlled her journey. Let us go home, Mia whispered, wiping her tears away. Together, they walked toward the first beams of sunlight breaking through. As they stepped into the light, Mia felt a strange sense of peace wash over her. The journey had been arduous, but she had fought through the darkest shadows and emerged victorious, empowered by the light she now carried within. This was the dawn of a new beginning. There was so much left to explore, so much joy and love ahead. It would be an adventure, no doubt. Mia smiled, eager to greet whatever came next, and as the sunlight embraced them, she knew she would never face the dark alone again. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion.